At what moment did you know, cked up? Went behind my friend's back and dated his crush knowing full well that he was into her. I'm not dating the girl anymore, but my friend and I haven't talked in a while since then. One of my friends did that. Like immediately after I told him. Then later he advised me to not hate the player. Hate the game. Quote, it's been around 8 years now. I think. Maybe I'm the toxic one. Maybe. How you react to it will help determine that. I'm not going to pretend that I haven't f'd things up with friends by thinking with my pork saber first. Do you continue the toxic behavior? Or do you attempt to be better than that? Sometimes we fk up. Doesn't mean we're bad or toxic. Just means we f'd up. But actions have consequences. Accept them. Attempt to correct yourself. And move on. One day I parked my car on the street in front of my house to grab something I'd forgotten. When I came back out, my car was down the road and in the ditch between two neighboring houses. Forgot the e-brake. Somehow it didn't hit any other parked cars, which is wild. My little brother and I, 9 and 12 respectively, were fighting, as brothers do. I don't know why. But I hadn't trimmed my nails in a bit. I raked his back. His back started to bleed. He started screaming. I didn't even try to silence him. I said a quick sorry and ran out of the house. Came back and it was locked. About an hour later Mom opened the door and said that Dad was furious and was gonna probably take it out on my ass in the morning. He did. It's how I woke up that day. Morning. Kathy. Welcome to HL. Quote. Phrasing. FK. I'm gay, my husband and partner of 10 years. At work some years ago. We had just received a fancy new instrument. I took it out to the workshop where I proceeded to slam 40 kilograms of rocks into it and dropping it on a concrete floor. The I done fucked realization came with the sound of rocks on plastic. Bringing the wreck back to the boss was such a lovely experience. I used to use tongs to get toast out of the toaster. I live with a physicist who tried to clean a sandwich toaster by submerging it in water. I was able to stop him and remind him to unplug it before. Was he doing it in the bathtub? Negative. Told my crushes I liked them and they spread it all over the school. The same year I was called the FK boy. Why were you called the FK boy? I used to try to get every girl's attention, but I sucked at it, so I gave on it and started to get lonely and tried to get girlfriend, but everyone just rejected me, so I got that nickname. TL. Doctor. I tried to get all the girls and got called fuckboy. Did you eventually end up getting a girlfriend? This is actually from a friend. He really liked to explore abandoned buildings. One night he decided to explore the abandoned military base in our city. At one point during his exploration he threw some rocks and broke a window. Then he heard a voice yelling, "Hold it right there. Freeze." That's how he found out the military base was in fact not abandoned at all. Rode my bike into a car. IFD up moment was when I saw my reflection in the windshield. Honey, I think the condom broke. Whoopsie babies. That's when you prove you're a decent person. Go to the pharmacy with her. And share the price of Plan B. I'm the her. And I had to go to the chemist's by myself. When I ruined my relationship with the boy I'm still in love with. What did you do? She told him. It's kind of a long story. TLDR. I told him a big lie, then ended up picking another guy over him. Changed my mind, but it was too late. I've been alone ever since. It's been about 9 to 10 months. It was a huge mistake and I regret it every day. The moment I realized I had wasted half a year with someone who did not care about me. Sadly, I only realized this a few months after we had already broken up, and I really should have seen the signs. My younger sister always liked to annoy me to get me in trouble. This one time she threw my paint in water. One jump kick later before I realized the whooping that would follow. A little bit of background for this. My parents are very strict and they wanted me to have the best grades. It was in my first year of high school. During history classes, my deskmate asked me at what page the lesson was. Mind you, my history teacher is one scary guy. He wants you to pay full attention at his classes. Anyway, he was lecturing a classmate of mine. I turned to my deskmate to tell him the page the lesson was at and my teacher says, "Le French fry spy. Continue." Quote, me. Quote, yes. You. Continue the lecture. From the point your classmate stopped. Come on. We haven't got all day. Quote, but Mr. G. I was only telling him at what page the lesson is. Quote, did I stutter? Little weasel? Quote, then I tried to continue. But I didn't hear very well at what point my classmate stopped. Because she is a very shy and quiet girl. Enough. F. Go back to your seat. Quote, but Mr. Quote, then he proceeds to look at me with a death stare. When I got home, I told my parents about my grade that ruined me. I couldn't hide this from my parents. Because they would have found out somehow. And they say they want to hear the bad news from me every time. I was grounded for a month nevertheless. That's not a very good teacher. I was grounded for a month nevertheless. Or good parents. You were grounded over telling someone what lesson to be on. I gotta find your parents' website and leave a bad review. Took my abusive ex back and then he got violent with me while I was merging onto the highway. Crying after sex because I was such a religious Christian boy back then. If it makes you feel any better, a guy the first knew growing up was from a very religious background. His dad was a pastor and all. His girlfriend at the time wasn't, however. And I was fairly good friends with her. She told me the most excruciatingly awkward experience of her life was the first time they had sex. He began crying and panicking and ran to his parents and confessed everything. They proceeded to sit the both of them down and lecture her that sex was for marriage and that there are other ways to pleasure each other in the meantime. Made for a good laugh. And he has since moved on from that stage in his life. Bro, WTF, this is literally me. Except my mom started crying after I confessed. It's like I could hear her thoughts saying, my precious son is now an infidel. What's an infidel? I asked a woman when she was due. She told me she wasn't pregnant. Ah. You learned the hard way to never, ever ask a woman if she's pregnant. And I mean never. Not even when the baby is halfway out. There is an exception. When you are at the beach with your daughter. And a woman in a bikini asks you how old your granddaughter is. One time a flight attendant thought I was traveling with my daughter. I was with my sister who is 1 year younger than me. When security was talking to us after we smashed the windows of an abandoned building with a metal pipe. When I farted and felt something squishy in my BT. When I woke up with my ex next to me. This gets my vote. I've been there. Maybe even at the same time and place. Every time before I speak. When my teacher was teaching about empathy and we read a passage about a girl with no legs. I said loud enough for everyone to hear, how am I supposed to put myself into her shoes? Quote, let's just say it did not go well. Ha 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 ha, that's terrible, how could you be so hee-hee cold? Lol, I couldn't resist. When my mom called my first, middle, and last name, told her to hold on because I needed to write my will. Oh God. Too late now. On the bright side. It's your cake day. Yeah. Cake day is awesome. A year after I said, I do. When I slid right out of my mom's VA and onto the floor. I forgot birth was a thing and was so disgusted. Wait, birth? Same. When I slid out of this guy's mom's VA. The rest of the semester will be online. We don't give partial degrees. So tuition and fees will remain in full. Like your degree. Quote, Lord, I can't believe I even have to ask this, but with the quotation marks. Did a school actually send this out? A dean said it via video. When I got on Reddit, cause when I got done making my account I knew I was going to be a virgin for a very long time. I was on the bottom of a 69. Happy cake day. When I told her that I was done with her forever. And then my friend said, dude, you got the N64 back before you broke up, right? Quote. Big R.I.P. lol. How broken was it when you went to get it back? It ended up working out in the end. She refused to give it up for a long time, reasoning that I could come get it if I really wanted it. I had moved back home to New York from Texas, so it wasn't super feasible. So she used it as a way of not fully severing contact. After arguing about it a bunch of times, she finally sent me my N64 and games. So I got off easy, I guess. A couple of them, like Conquer, she next sent back. But she sent my ocarina, which was a present from my older sister who has since passed away. And that particular copy is worth a lot to me. Back when I was 12, I remember I had an argument with my mom about something. I ended up getting so mad I just stormed off to my room and slammed the door. I then started hearing footsteps approaching my room. Had an infected tooth literally rotting out of my skull. Kept taking 800 milligrams ibuprofen throughout the day. Woke up in the middle of the night to immense pain. Popped another IBU and some other pill that I don't remember and smoked a bowl. Within 20 minutes I felt a feeling I can only describe as my brain wiggling behind my eyes. A feeling I hope I never experience again. And my heart started racing faster than it ever has in my life. Probably a good 120 plus BPM. I thought I was going to have a heart attack at 24. I have no clue how I didn't die. I panicked and woke my parents up and got in so much trouble because in the initial panic and confusion, I thought it was the combo of the IBU and the weed and confessed I had been smoking in the house. Only later did I realize it was all the IBU I had taken in the last 24 hours. Also, not really relevant but interesting. That same day, I went to the dentist and on my way back I wrecked my mom's car. Exactly a week later, I started going into anaphylactic shock due to an allergy to the antibiotics they prescribed me for the infection in my tooth. Then I electrocuted myself on a hidden live wire when working on my car less than 2 days later. Something was out for me that week. Too many close calls in a short period of time, LMAO. That's some voodoo-level bad luck. How are you still here? The Grim Reaper had some very specific instructions to follow. Well, he tried. When I ramped my quad bike and almost killed myself. Quad landed on top of me and I lost my helmet. I was 10. Edit. Spelling. When I was a kid I was up playing Minecraft at like 2 in the morning. And my mom walked in unannounced. She starts yelling at me and asking why the FK I'm awake. In the most deadpan, tired voice an 11-year-old could have. I said, "You're awake too. You know, I could ask you the same FG thing." Quote. Needless to say I got my ass handed to me after that and I got grounded for a few months lol. When I finished half a gallon of prune juice and my stomach started rumbling. Thought it was just a hokey home remedy. Boy was I wrong. A warrior's drink. Kopla. My favorite part of that is that Guinan was looking at Worf and said to herself, "That boy needs some prune juice." Quote. One night I was watching a pretty questionable anime on my laptop with crappy earphones that only work if you plug it at a certain angle. It was getting pretty late so the room was very quiet. Everyone was either lying on bed looking at their phones, or already asleep. So as I was fiddling with the earphones while watching a pretty loud scene, the plug came loose just enough for the laptop to consider it unplugged. I wish I had godly reflexes. But the damage had been done before I realized it. Well, you can pretty much guess what happened afterwards. Username does not check out. The first time I started using drugs. Alcohol and cigarettes. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.